foremost, if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And follow me on Instagram at medical_Miche, MICHE, and happy Thanksgiving. I hope you had a wonderful holiday, and I'm so excited for the holiday season. This is my favorite time of the year. December is probably one of my favorite months. I'm biased because December also has my birthday in it. Woo! I love just the celebrating with my family, being close, celebrating togetherness, celebrating the things that you have, the things that you've accomplished this year, planning for what you want to accomplish next year, or reflecting on things you could have done better. I love all of that. So this is my favorite time of the year. I get super in depth, and I just be thinking about all the ways I can improve myself. So stuff like that. But moral of the story, I'm excited to be here. Today I just wanted to talk to you guys about why I wanted to be a doctor, how I knew I wanted to be a doctor, and then the theme of goal setting is like my aim. So let's get into it. Why I wanted to be a doctor. So when I was younger, I loved science. It was always really intriguing. I loved the idea. Actually, to be honest with you, I hated the format. So I hated question, hypothesis, and independent variable, and the experimentation concept. I always got it confused. It took me an embarrassing amount of time to figure out IV versus DV, or your independent variable versus your dependent variable. But yes, so really, I liked the idea of science. I loved plants and bugs. We had our little bug collecting sets, and I would literally collect little ladybugs, and I'd put grass and stuff in there for them. And so one time I remembered I collected bugs, and they would always die. And I was so annoyed because I was why do my bugs keep dying? And so I was trying to figure out how to keep them alive. So I collected them and I gave them grass, and then they died. And then I counted the days. So I was okay, how many days are they living? And then, so then a second set, I collected bugs again, and I gave them fruit, and I counted how long they would live, and they lived longer, ish. And I was okay, so this is what I have to do to keep my bugs alive. Literally, my mom was sick of me. But it was just little things like that. I would be conducting my own little experiments that I never really realized were even experiments. And it was really just because I was curious. In the arms of the angel. And so that progressed. I always really liked the human body. My mom would buy me anatomy books because my mom's a teacher. And so we were always at the library, and literally I had something new I wanted to learn every week. And I wanted to learn more about the body. That was always interesting to me. So as I progressed, growing up, I knew I wanted to be something impactful. In my mind, I wanted a career where I could be unique in the way that I impacted people. I wanted to have a very unique impact on people's lives. And that's, any career can really have that depending on what your focus is. And I think that's what's most intriguing to me, is that I'm doing something that's specific and special, and I get to know things about people that are very intimate and personal, and I can improve their life in a very personal way. And I think that's beautiful. So with that in mind, I started out wanting to be an astronaut because I was oh my goodness, who else can say they've gone to a planet to figure out whether or not, stuff is living on there and everything. I thought it was amazing. So I was oh my goodness, yes. And then I realized rockets are dangerous and up high. And that's when I was maybe this isn't my forte. So I humbly bowed out and shifted focus. And so maybe around middle school, I wanted to be a dentist because you still get to learn about the human body, you still get to help people in a very specific way. But I was I don't really want to get bitten or anything. That would really kind of ruin my day. So I started to shift away from dentistry. But I knew medicine kept my interest. And then I was okay, well, I would love to be a lawyer. I love talking. I think I have pretty decent, like, constructing civilized discourse terminology. But yeah, so I think I'm good at that. So there were some things that I was like, okay, maybe I could be a lawyer. And I remember going into debate, freshman year, we had to do debate, and I loved it. I thought it was really cool. Shout out to Drew. I hope you wanted to be shouted out. Sorry. But yeah, so Drew was my debate partner, and we had a blast. Literally, it was like we would go to debate tournaments, and we did Lincoln Douglas because that's how everybody starts. And we were okay. We gave it our best, and I was like, okay, this is fun. Ebb and flow. You kind of get the gist of how it goes. And then as I progressed through debate, I kind of enjoyed the performative aspect more. So I did prose. I was a poetry person at one point even. So debate kept my interest in like law and lawyer kind of focus. However, I was like in between becoming a doctor and a lawyer. I was like, okay, very unique fields, very special, like highly respectable in society. So the only thing that kind of dissuaded me from becoming a lawyer was that I'm very like passionate about people, and I care deeply about like individuals. And I also realized that with being a lawyer, it kind of meant that in order to improve someone's life, I might worsen someone else's. And I just couldn't really get comfortable with that idea. I didn't want to feel like to win in one area, someone had to lose. I didn't want to do that. So I felt that in medicine, you know, I'm doing my best. I'm doing everything that I can to improve someone's life. And I think that's a genuine effort. And so I kind of dug into that idea of, okay, I'll be a doctor. That is like a lofty goal. Like, have no doctors in my family. I did not know any doctors personally. I had friends whose parents were doctors, but I never saw them. So there was that. So there was like, you know, this idea that I was going to be a doctor, but I didn't know how to like put feet on it. So chapter 2. So, leaving high school, I knew I wanted to be a doctor, and well, not even leaving. So while in high school, kind of landed on the idea that I'd be a doctor. And I knew that in order to be a doctor, you had to be really smart, like straight A's all the time. And you had to go to college. These were the things I knew. So in knowing those two things, I was like, okay, let's do my best. So high school was like a little bit challenging for me academically. I was always like an athlete, and I did band. I actually participated in a ton of things. I was in band. I played the clarinet. I did cheer 1 year. I did tennis for 2 years. I played basketball for a year. Oh God, I am so sorry to my teammates. I didn't know I was going to be that bad. Yeah, I kind of just did anything. So I did a ton of stuff on the side, and then, which, you know, worked out. I got to know tons of people, really diversified my crowd, loved it. But it took up a lot of time, and I didn't use most of my time studying. So when it came to school, I kind of just like winged it. Sometimes it worked. I liked to study, but I didn't know how. So I just kind of like did what worked. Junior year, I learned how to look up my GPA. What a humbling experience that was. I was like, oh, okay, not terrible, but not like 4.0-ish. So I had to deal with that. So junior year, I was like, well, I know I want to be a doctor, and I know my GPA is not where it should be. So let's do something that really tests the waters on like how smart I am. So I had the bright idea to take what is the AP, or Advanced Placement, biology class at our school. This is a very hard class. It is taught almost like a college class, and your girl drowned. I was proud to get a C in that class, but it highly prepared me for my college courses. So that was it worked out. It definitely worked out. It greatly prepared me. So took that class, got beat up. But I felt like I had to prove myself in some way. Leaving high school, I knew I wanted to be a doctor, and I had no idea what to major in. I was told that I would be pre-med by my counselor. So pre-med is a group of classes that you'll take that is pre-planned. And basically these classes are necessary to do well on the Mcat and are required by medical schools, or more so, most of them require these classes. And so you'll see that among any pre kind of focus. It's just like a predetermined set of classes. So pre-law, pre-dental, pre-veterinary, literally pre-anything, graduate, essentially. So going in, I'm confused because I'm like, wait a minute, like they said I'm majoring in pre-med. You're not. You're just taking pre-med focus. So with that in mind, I Googled, what do people major in when they want to be a doctor? And I found that, okay, making sure I'm still recording because we've messed that up. Anyway, so what I found was that 80% at the time, it could be different, but at the time, 80% of students were split between chemistry and biology. So I knew that chemistry was humbly not my wheelhouse, so I chose biology. Now, given my previous history with biology,
your girl drowned. I was proud to get a C in that class.
I was nervous, but that's okay. So I went in kind of understanding that I want to be a doctor, but in the event that it doesn't work out, what's my backup plan? So that was kind of my mindset, like just have a backup plan in mind and we'll go from there. I found comfort knowing that I could switch my major if at any point, it got overwhelming. So going into undergrad, had a blast, but also studied a lot. And that was a hard part. But I was well prepared with my AP Bio class. So I kind of knew what it meant to like dedicate serious time to studying. And so I got in a really good routine of doing most of my homework, before 4 p.m. and then enjoying the rest of my evening. And that was like solid coming out of high school. Second semester dwindled, but did my best. And that's what matters. While in undergrad, I wanted to see if medicine was really something I could even handle. I think my biggest fear was like getting my first opportunity to experience medicine and like passing out or throwing up or something crazy like that. So I wanted to kind of dip my feet in, if you will. So I took an EMT course my sophomore year. And it was really kind of a lot. It was actually a lot. I had to commute 45 minutes from my campus back to the city from which I live, which is Kansas City. And at the time, I was going to school in Warrensburg. Go Mules. So this is like all jumbled. So literally, I am commuting I think it was Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday back to Kansas City to do this EMT course. It was at night for 12 weeks. And it was a lot. It was a lot. It went into my summer. So I started at my sophomore semester and then into my summer. And it was beautiful. I enjoyed being able to help people and being the first person someone saw in an emergency. I thought that was very significant and impactful. I thought it was a jolting experience to witness people in such a situation and have to act and think. And it's something that you definitely have to prepare for as far as like thinking on the spot and getting over that kind of shock factor, which I was glad I was able to do. And so from that experience, I knew I could say, okay, medicine is kind of where I'm comfortable. That's where I want to go. So even if I don't end up being a doctor, I know that medicine makes me happy. Woohoo! Wonderful. We figured something out. So went through undergrad, really just, hoping that I would be able to do well enough to get into medical school. And so as kind of the end of my undergrad experience approached, I had never heard of the Mcat, didn't know anything about it. And I happened to work with a young woman who was also going to go to medical school. And she had mentioned an awesome program at the school that I'm at now. And it's focused on basically helping students prepare for the Mcat. So immediately I Googled this said Mcat. And I find out it is a required standardized exam for the entrance of medical school. Wow. So it's a huge test. It is about 7 hours long. It has 4 sections, and it's a humbling experience, to say the least. And it's very, very hard. But, so I take this program and probably didn't give it my whole 100% that I could have, because, mind you, this is kind of a cumulative exam of your major pre-med courses. And I hadn't really learned as in depth as I should have for those classes. So that was really hard to kind of like play catch up on, essentially. So in studying for the Mcat, I planned to take it and I'd sit through the exam. And I'd taken maybe 2 practice tests in total through the program, but like none really on my own. So I took the test beginning of my senior year, but I was a super senior when I graduated, so my senior year. And that was a humbling experience, to say the least. So after getting my score back, I realized I cannot use this on any application, which was fine. It was fine. Everything's fine. So I began to immediately plan on what am I going to do? But I know I like medicine. And at this point, I've been shadowing quite a bit, and I'll dive into my experiences with shadowing and everything on another episode. But for this point, I'm pretty sure I want to do medicine. So we ended up going on a trip to New York, and I'll go more in depth about this and how it all happened. But long story short, while I was there, I toured Rochester University School of Medicine, where I told them about my situation, and I told them I was pre-med, but like I did terrible on the Mcat, and they suggested I do a post-bac program. For those who don't know, a post-bac program is a post-baccalaureate program that is basically done after you get your bachelor's degree, and the credits that you get count as like post-baccalaureate kind of credits, but it basically boosts your GPA. So take the program and literally do much better on the Mcat. I attribute my program, and I'll tell you guys, I did a post-bac program at Southern Illinois University. It's called Med Prep, and they wonderfully prepared me for medical school, helped me for the Mcat tremendously, gave me huge tips on just learning how I learn, working on studying and focusing and really delegating time adequately. It's wonderful. So post-bac programs will always get my vote. And you gotta do your research, because there's certain ones and there's different things, but for the most part, I greatly appreciate my post-bac experience. So applied for medical school and got in, and I think, to tell you the truth, I have only really I couldn't solidify whether or not I wanted to be a doctor and what kind of doctor I wanted to be. And my first experience with patients as a student doctor solidified all of that. It fulfilled something that I'd been wondering if I would really feel as happy doing this. And it was almost immediate. It was like I was able to interact with patients. I was talking to patients. I was getting to know, what the medical side of care looked like and kind of the thought process that doctors even used. And I loved it all. But it was really nice to apply all the things that I felt like I'd been learning, especially in rotations. I feel like rotations kind of pull it all together. I was dying just reading books over and over. You read scenarios, and all of my patients are like 4 sentences, and I don't really get to know them, and I don't really get to see the full picture. And I think I love that. I think that's the fun part of it. So I'm probably rambling, I'm sorry, but I love medicine. I do. And I know for a fact that I want to be a doctor. I'm so glad. I think my biggest fear was like getting this far and being like, I don't want to do this. But literally every opportunity that I've had to just be with patients has made me feel so much better. And just listening to doctors and kind of listening to their thought process is really intriguing, because there's so many things to consider when dealing with just one patient. And it's I see the value in checklists, in organization, in having a plan. And I think that is, the route to success for sure. And I've just enjoyed being able to see it all come together. So why I want to be a doctor. And I also wanted to talk about goals. So in me even getting this far, I had to set goals for myself. And when I tell you guys, I was terrified of my goals most of the time. There was a large amount of doubt for me, just internally, when I would tell people, oh, I want to be a doctor. I don't even know what that looks like right now. Like, I don't know how to get into medical school, didn't know anything about the Mcat, didn't know about letters of recommendation, and that I would need like shadowing experience. And that was a whole experience. So I think for me, I would set these goals, but I didn't really believe in them. I guess I didn't put all my eggs in my goals, right? Like, eggs in your basket. I'm trying, guys, just follow me. I didn't have the self-confidence that I needed. And by not really fully believing in that, it took me a little time to like get comfortable with my goals and not be afraid of my goals. So by the time I'm a junior, I'm certain that this is the route that I want to go in. And I tell people, yes, I want to be a doctor. I want to go to medical school. Still had to figure out what that even looked like, because at the point where I was going to graduate, I didn't know what the other side looked like. I didn't know what people studied in medical school, how the classes were structured, if it was similar to undergrad, any of that. So I think there was so much unknown on the other side that it was really hard for me to be confident in my goals in the first place. So my advice to you all is set high goals. And sometimes it's good that your goals scare you, because if your goals scare you, that means that you are so passionate about your goals that if you don't make them, you will actually be heartbroken or you will be hurt in some way. And that means that you are passionate about that. That means that that is something that matters to you. And this is why it's okay to be afraid of your goals, but it's not okay to avoid them because you're afraid. And I think one of the most beautiful things that came out of it was that I set this goal so high and it just became more and more visible. And I was shocked by the time my white coat ceremony came up. And I got my first acceptance into medical school, and it was almost surreal. It was like I'd worked so hard. And now here I am working way harder than I've ever worked. I'm really only going to work harder after this. But having such a high goal that I didn't know what it looked like, just knowing that I'd be there, that's passion. And that's a level of confidence I really didn't understand, because to even set a goal, not really knowing what it looks like, that's pretty bold. Like it's pretty bold. But at the same time, I encourage anyone who wants to be a doctor or go to a graduate program that you do everything you can to really understand what that other side looks like. Because understanding and knowing what's ahead is only going to strengthen your passion. So I am so glad I got to share this with you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and share. And tell a friend about this, because they probably... Yes, tell a friend about it, because they probably need it. And I wish you all success and love and peace. So bye. Bye, Astro. Bye.